Hope you all are doing well today and safe at home. As you can see on my screen, topic for today is how you can implement CI/CD process or pipeline with the help of AWS Code Deploy integrated with GitHub and AWS Code Pipeline. The diagram, the architecture over here is quite self-explanatory and the process is quite common across IT industry where we deploy this process just to reduce the manual effort because whenever you deploy your application or deploy your infrastructure, there are like a lot of different ways you can do that. You can do it manually, which is a traditional way, provision your infrastructure manually, your EC2 instances, servers, then deploy your code manually or with the help of scripting, which is an automated way, one kind of an automated way, or create a pipeline either with the help of Jenkins or AWS Code Pipeline or any other tool. So that's kind of an automated process where one click of a button or when you check in your code to your repo, whether it is GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, any kind of repo, that will trigger a pipeline and deploy your code onto your EC2 instances or server where application are hosted. So that makes process quite easier in terms of frequent deployment, like the versions. Let's say I have deployed an application and I want to upgrade an application feature, like in a sprint of a month. Then instead of doing it manually or doing it via scripting, I can create a pipeline, inject that scripting into the pipeline, and we don't have to do much. Instead, we just have to check in the code to GitHub. So that's what this particular architecture is showing over here, where we have a set of users. You can call them as developers, DevOps engineer, or infrastructure guy or QA guy, checks in their code into GitHub repo, which is integrated with the pipeline process. And with the help of AWS pipeline and code deploy, it will deploy your application code residing into EC2 instance. So this is just like a one click deployment process, or where even you don't have to do a one click submit button. It's just check in your code from your local laptop or from your environment into GitHub, and that will trigger a pipeline to deploy your code. That makes it more easier to maintain your process, and you can focus on different things in your organization to reduce more efforts in terms of manual intervention. So the next process is basically how you can achieve this particular objective. So first thing, what are the things required over here? We need to have a GitHub repo where we'll be going to reside our code. Then there are like a few configurations required for AWS Code Deploy and Code Pipeline, and an EC2 instances which is hosting our environment, your application. It can be on Apache, IIS, Tomcat, or depend upon the type of web server you are using. So that is totally on the application tier. So let me log into my GitHub account. So this is my EC2 dashboard where I already have one instance, which is T2 Micro. This is Amazon Linux that is running into my environment. And you can see Apache is already running as a web server. I don't have anything deployed over yet, just a test page from Apache, which is hosting my environment. Okay. Now, as part of the process, let me log into my GitHub, github.com, sign in. Okay. I hope I remember my password. Nope. Perfect. So these are my repo, out of which I'm going to use AWS Lab. And you can see like I have a simple index.html file with a welcome text message. And I have a readme file, which is AWS Code Deploy using GitHub. Then there is a file called appspec.yml, which used by AWS Code Deploy. So this is quite simple YAML file where it shows like which platform you are going to deploy, like your EC2 instance is running with Linux or Windows or any other platform, from where you will be going to pick up your file. So the index.html file is residing at the root and where I want to deploy. So I'm going to deploy this within var www.html folder. That's an Apache root. So that's how simple this particular repo is all about. Now, in terms of configuring AWS code deploy and code pipeline, what we have to do, let's go to services. Within services, there is a module called developer tool, and I have already done a demo on most of the modules like code star, commit, code build, deploy, pipeline, X-ray. These are the services that I have already done. And as part of a DevOps series, I have already created a video where you can provision your infrastructure with the help of CloudFormation integrated with code pipeline as a CI/CD process. So let's go to code deploy. I'm going to open in a new tab. Now, in order to configure code deploy, we have certain steps to perform. So for that, let's go to get started. As you can see, all your modules and services are present over here. You can use code commit as your repo. You have to create a pipeline. You can create a pipeline from here. We have a build process. We have a deploy process. Now, in order to use code deploy to automate your code deployments to maintain application uptime, you have to create an application. Let's give this application name as CodeDeploy POC. Then you have to choose a platform. We have three options as of now, which is EC2 on-premise, which is your server within your cloud environment or on-premise environment, AWS Lambda serverless environment, and ECS, which is a container services. So let's select EC2 because I have EC2 onboarded over here. Now application is created. You can create a notification rule with the help of SNS topic. Now there is something called deployment group where we'll be going to configure each and every step. So let's click on deployment group. We will be going to use same name. Again, naming convention totally depend upon your requirement. So if you have a standard naming convention in your industry, then obviously you have to use that, which is meaningful to everybody, right? Now, every service to interact with another service, there is a role needs to be defined with a permission set. So I have a role created already, which is called EC2 code deploy. I'm going to show you what are the permissions that I have given to this role. So this has a code deployer role that will help us to deploy our application to EC2 instance. Deployment type, we have two options, in place and blue green. You can use as per your requirement. With when it comes to blue and green deployment, it replaces the instance in the deployment group with a new instance and deploy with the same latest configuration of an application. Now, environment configuration, you can use auto scaling, EC2 instance on-premise. I have Amazon EC2 instances. Based upon tag, I'm going to deploy this, which is on the name tag. That's the only tag I have with my EC2 instance. Now, install your AWS code deploy agent. Here, we have different options. So basically, you can deploy your agent manually or choose one of this option and then upgrade after like 14 days, 15 days, or a month or so, because AWS in background try to update their clients time to time. So it's better to schedule an update, and that will not going to break your environment. I haven't seen that from long time, so that's quite good to schedule an update. Again, you have to use systems manager as well. The level of permission that is there, because everything within background runs via systems manager within AWS. Deployment settings, we have three options. Deploy all code at once, like all server at once, one at a time or half at a time. I'm going with all at once. I have only one server. You can use load balancers. I don't have any load balancer as of now created. If you go to advanced option, you can create a trigger on deployment group, alarms, and the rollback option. By default, it is disabled in nature. You can roll back when deployment fails. So for example, let's say we have set of 5 servers that will be going to deploy with the same application code. Then you can go with 50-50 percentage. If it fails for 50%, just roll it back to the previous code and it will not deploy to the other instances. Give the name tagging, the deployment tags, click create deployment group. So all the configurations has been defined over here. If I show you the IAM role, let me click on IAM role. As I told you, this consists of all the code deployer role. So it's code deploy full access and code deploy role. That's the role that I have defined. Now, in order to deploy the code onto your EC2 instance. What is the next process? Then you have to create a pipeline because the code deployment configuration has been done. That's something consists of a source from where you'll be going to deploy, right? Sorry, not the source, it's a destination framework. So go to pipeline, click on create pipeline, give this name as CI/CD POC. So you can create a new service role, or if you have created already a role, you can use an existing one. I'm going to create a new role. Advanced option, all the artifacts will be going to stored in S3 bucket. You can create your own S3 bucket, deploy or place your code in that particular S3 bucket. Use KMS key. You can use it as a managed key from AWS, or you can create your own custom managed key. And again, if you're not aware of key management and encryption, there is a video on my channel. Please do watch that to get a clear understanding. Click next. Now here is the source. We have different options. As I said, you can use code commit, ECR is for the containers, S3, Bitbucket, GitHub version 1, version 2 and enterprise if you have enterprise environment. GitHub version 1 is not recommended. We'll go with the latest version, which is GitHub version 2. Here it will ask you to create a connection. So click on connect GitHub. It will ask you to give the name of your connection name, and again it can be anything as per your environment. Click on connect to GitHub. It will ask you to log in and authenticate your GitHub environment. Since I have already logged into my GitHub, that's why it connected to my GitHub environment. Now here on the GitHub apps, since I don't have any GitHub apps installed, I'm going to click on create or install a new app. This will install an app in background. Okay, that's my profile, and I'm going to select specific repo, which will be AWS Labs. Click save. You are being redirected for the connector. Here we go. That's the ID. Click on connect. It's a simple process, guys. So now I'm already connected to my GitHub. Let's click on the repo. That's my repo branch. I'm going with, let me see what branch this has been deployed. It's a prod branch. Okay. So let's select prod. Now start the pipeline on the source code. You can use code default, CodePipeline default, or you can use a full clone. So let's go with the default option. Click next. I'm not going to build anything in this particular video. So we have two options. You can use code build. So you have to do the same kind of configuration what we have done for the code deploy, or you can use Jenkins. So click on skip. Now the deploy, which module you will be going to use to deploy. So we have different options over here. We have ECS for container, OpsWorks, which is an orchestrator, then CodeDeploy, so or CloudFormation. Let's select CodeDeploy. I'm going with Virginia. Select an application name as CodeDeploy POC. Configuration is this. Click next and click create pipeline. So what this will be going to do, once the pipeline is created, it will try to trigger this pipeline with the source code. So as you can see, it's in progress. It's taking the code from my GitHub and will try to deploy to the instance that what we have selected. So in my case, it's only one. So we just have to wait for a few minutes. As you can see, it succeeded. The next step, it's trying to deploy. You can see the detail. So there is a possibility that it might fail because on my instance, I don't have a code deploy agent installed. So we just have to wait. You can see all the events. What are the events that this will be going to use? Application stop, download the bundle, before install, install, after install, application start, and validate service. So you can start your Apache as a web server, like stop the Apache, deploy code and start. So for example, if I go to my script section, I already have something called start server that will do a start. I haven't created this logic in my appspec.yml file because whatever you are writing with code deploy, you have to use appspec.yml file because it takes the reference, and within appspec.yml file, I can define all these start, stop, and if there is dependency required to install your application server, then it will do the same for you. It just have to be defined within appspec.yml file over here, like before install and after install. Let's go to code deploy. Now this will be going to take bit of time. If it fails, I will show you how you can deploy code deploy agent onto the server. So I'm going to pause this video for a while and resume it back once this is done. As I said, this will be going to fail because the code deploy agent is not installed on the server. So let's click on the pipeline. It failed in the deploy stage. Click on the detail, link to the execution. The overall deployment failed because too many individual instances failed deployment. So if you see the events over here, it has multiple events and it failed at the first layer itself. Now, in order to make it working, we have to deploy code deploy agent. For that, we have certain steps to follow. Let's click on the Amazon documentation. I'm going to use yum update. So let's go to instance, do an yum update real quick. Okay, it's already updated. Then we have to install Ruby because of the dependency what we have with code deploy agent. Okay, that's also there. So basically, if you don't have these packages, it will try to install packages onto your server. You can use this into your user data, which is a boot time script. During your server provisioning, it will deploy an agent for you. Now change that to EC2 user. I'm already there. Okay. In order to download, we have to use wget. So let's copy this, paste it over here. Since I'm working from Virginia, so I'm going to give this location as Virginia into the bucket name, which is AWS code deploy -us -east -1. Click enter. Okay, it's already installed. Let's do the permission change. Perfect. We'll use, I'm already working as a root user, so let's click install. This will be going to install code deploy agent. So that's done. You can use this one as well. Let's see the service of code deploy. Okay, it's code deploy agent is running with PID process. Perfect. Okay, so let me do another one. Okay, it's already running, so that should be fine. Now let's go to our pipeline. Click on pipeline and we'll retry our deploy stage. Click on retry. Okay, now you can see it's in progress. We will get the detail section over here now. Let's wait for a few seconds. Yep, there we have detail section. It failed again. Now let's see where it failed. Access denied. Okay, so download bundle access denied. So let's see what we have onto the server. So every server has to be defined with certain role. Generally I use it for administrator, but let's see if it's able to download it from S3 or not. I believe not. So I'm going to give this as admin access. It's not required actually for the admin access. What you can do, click on attach policy and EC2, search for EC2 role for code deploy. EC2 role for code deploy. Okay, perfect. Attach the policy. Let's see, we'll be going to do another retry, and you can retry it from code deploy console as well. Okay, so reason being I'm doing this just to make sure that whenever you guys face some issue, something like this, you can try to resolve step by step just to understand what is happening in background, why it's failing, because it's a best practices to understand before deploying anything into your process, right? Like a CI/CD process. Click on details. The events over here, you can see every event has been done successfully. So let's go to our instance and check where www html to ls. Here we go, we have index.html file. Now if I do something like this, index.html, enter, we have the welcome text. Now this is something we have retried. What if I update my code? Will it trigger my pipeline or not? Okay, let's go to pipeline first, and I'm going to update my index.html file over here and do a commit. Welcome to my channel. This is POC for CI CD using AWS module. So this is the line that I am going to commit with the updated file. It has been committed. Now let's see if it triggers my pipeline or not. It's in progress because the GitHub has been modified. Now it fetched that particular part, that particular updated file from GitHub successfully. Now it's in the deploy phase. Let's see. And again, this pipeline process deployment is very quick. If I click on detail, it shows succeeded for sure. Now if I do refresh, here we go. The updated file has been deployed to the server. So that's how powerful this particular tool is. This process itself is quite powerful. It's easy to implement, easy to manage your multiple phases of deployment. We just have to commit your code at one place and it will trigger the pipeline for you, do the deployment job for you. Don't have to do anything manually. Once set up, once configured, you are done with your job. So you don't have to worry to manage your deployments manually into hundreds or thousands of servers. You can use CI/CD pipeline. You can use Jenkins as well. It's just if people are heavily used on or heavily loaded on AWS platform, I would prefer to go with CodeDeploy and CodePipeline. Although Jenkins provide you a lot of different functionality, I have done a demo on Jenkins as well. It's just a matter of fact, both concepts are same. The functionality might differ in terms of the features. I would say the functionality might differ, but the concept remains same as part of the CI/CD process. I hope this clears a lot of doubt in terms of how you can use CodeDeploy, GitHub, and CodePipeline to make a CI/CD pipeline into your environment. So just try it out on your account, play it around. If you're facing any issue, just place out a comment in comment section and I'll be there to help you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.